Hello, I'm Brian Bishop, the founder of Lawman Tactical. Welcome to our Lawman Tactical Guntry Club. I will go over our range safety rules and policies with you before you start. Please contact the range safety officer or RSO on duty if you have any questions after this video. Rule number 1, the safe gun rule. Treat all firearms as if they are loaded. Rule number 2, safe finger. Keep your finger off the trigger and on the frame unless you're in the process of firing. Rule number 3, the safe direction rule. Keep your firearm pointed in a safe direction. Never allow the muzzle to cover anything you do not intend to shoot. Don't turn and flag your fellow shooters. If you need to turn or manipulate the firearm, ensure the muzzle is pointed downrange at all times. Rule number 4, the safe target and target line rule. Always be sure of your target, what's around it, and behind it. Bullets should not impact the walls, ceilings, or floor. Rule number 5, safe storage. Keep your firearm in a case the entire time unless it's in the booth. Now we'll cover some of the rules before entering the range. You are prohibited from shooting under the influence of drugs or alcohol, and food and drink are not permitted in the range. Shooters under the age of 18 must be closely supervised at all times by a parent or legal guardian. Children under the age of 10 are not allowed in the range unless they have proof of a hunter safety or youth firearm safety course. The range safety officer will inspect all ammunition before entry. Tracer, armor piercing, green tip, steel core, birdshot, aluminum and steel casing are prohibited. Prior to entering the range, note that there are 2 doors. Before entering the very first door, make sure you put on your eye protection and ear protection and have them on at all times when inside the range. Also ensure that only 1 door is open at a time before entry. Cell phones are allowed. You may take pictures, videos, and texts while observing. If you are the one on the firing line with a firearm in your hand, the phone needs to be put away. No selfies with firearms. Drawing from your holster is prohibited unless you've completed our Draw from the Holster certification. If interested, please ask the RSO on duty. Proper grip and gun handling must be maintained at all times. No shooting with one hand while the firearm is at an angle or from unorthodox positions. There's no regulation on the rate of fire as long as you're under control and staying on target. You can shoot up to a .308 caliber with a velocity up to 2,800 feet per second. If your firearm has a malfunction, please clear the firearm if you feel comfortable doing so. If you're unfamiliar with how to clear the firearm or need assistance, keep the firearm under control, point it downrange for 30 seconds, set the firearm down on the shelf inside the booth, and find an RSO on duty. Now, let's get to know your range. In each lane, there's a shelf that represents the firing line. Do not advance past the firing line for any reason. If you dropped an object past the firing line, notify an RSO and they will help you retrieve it. A target carrier takes the target up and down the range in each lane. It's made of metal and should not have impacts. If there are recent impacts in your target carrier, notify the RSO. Your rounds should not impact the target carrier. If your rounds impact the target carrier, there's a $50 fine for each round, and you must notify an RSO immediately. When you hang your target, place them at approximately the shoulders of the target hanger or eye level or lower. That's a good starting point regardless of where your target is. Your round should impact the berm and only the berm. All RSOs carry medical supplies on their person, and there are medical kits in each range. Metal benches are located at the back of the range. These benches are for your belongings and gear. Firearms should be in a case or in a holster at all times, except when you're at the firing line. When you're finished shooting, bring your case to the firing line to pick up, not the firearm to the case. Firearms are never to be carried off the firing line in hand, only in a case or a holster. Before exiting, double check to ensure only 1 door is open at a time. Lastly, and most importantly, is a ceasefire command. At any time, if you see anything unsafe, call ceasefire. If you're uncomfortable calling ceasefire, notify the RSO and they will call a ceasefire accordingly. If you hear a ceasefire command, stop shooting immediately, place the firearm on the bench with the muzzle facing downrange. Step back with your hands up to show the RSO that everything is safe and clear and wait for further instructions. Don't hesitate to ask if you need any assistance or have questions. The cameras on the range are monitored at all times, and the range safety officers conduct walkthroughs in the range every few minutes. Remember that all commands from the RSO must be followed immediately. Be safe, have fun, and welcome to the Lawman Tactical Country Club.